What is identity? Identity is defined as the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. When someone says they know someone's identity, they are saying without a doubt, I know who someone is. When you say, I know my identity, you're saying without a doubt, you know what you are or who you are. Now, the only problem is it is hard to define who you are if you're not sure where you came from or why you're here and what you were born to do. I'm Dr. Faith Wokoma, owner of Ask Dr. Faith Inc. and director of Destiny Training Academy. And over the next 5 days, I am going to be sharing videos where I'm answering your questions around purpose and identity. Today, I just want to start with, where did you come from? It's easy to think that you were just your mother or dad's idea, but you were thought of even more than that. The truth is, you were God's idea. Scripture tells us He knit us in our mother's womb. He knows the hairs that are on our head. He has the plans for your life. So with all that being true, we know why the enemy comes after us. He begins to cause you to identify your existence around your early childhood experiences. He wants us to believe if your parents weren't there, then you are unloved. If you went through poverty or hardships, then you were uncared for. If you were bullied or picked on, then you are useless. So everyone at some point has to begin the journey of becoming who they were always meant to be. And when we get to that point where we know we are loved and we know we're cared for by God, then we can begin to emerge into who He crafted us to be. Outside of that, we are just left wondering. Recently, we asked a number of people on social media what they wanted to know about identity and purpose. Today, we're going to answer questions around how you discover who you really are. And over the next several days, we're going deeper into the topic by answering more questions that were asked on social media about purpose. Question 1, how do you find out exactly what your identity or purpose is? I've prayed, yet God seems silent. So the truth is, with this question, it's not just about praying and waiting for God to drop the answer from, the clouds. When it comes to your identity and purpose, there are several things that you have to do to engage heaven in order to discover it. Some of the practical things are just answering some simple questions, which I'm going to go over as we go through the videos, but things that excite you, things that break your heart. You want to get to know yourself on a practical level. The next thing that you want to do is you want to discover your spiritual gifts. You do that through taking spiritual gifts assessments, hopefully at your church. They're also online. But your gifts and your talents, as we will see over the next several videos, really help shape who you are and what your purpose is. And then obviously you do spend time in prayer. But if you're not hearing, then you need to seek out other people who do hear God's voice. And that's why being in community is really important. All right, let's look at question number 2. Another question that's always asked and it's always circulating when we talk about identity and purpose is, what are you supposed to tackle first? Healing and deliverance, or finding your identity and purpose? And the truth is, healing and deliverance is how you find identity. And so if you don't do the work of working through lies that you have believed about who you are, about your experiences, about who your family says you are, you're going to live based off of those experiences. So part of discovering your identity is discovering who you're not. And who we are is oftentimes shaped by what we think people think about us, what we think our family has defined us. So when you go through inner healing, you're identifying wounds, lies that you have believed about the enemy, uprooting them, removing them. And as you heal from that, your true self begins to emerge. After your true self has emerged, then you can begin to say, okay, I am clear about who I am. Now, what am I supposed to be doing? All right, let's look at one more question for today. The question says, how do I constantly see myself through God's eyes? And I love that question because that is the epitome of true identity. When we learn to see ourselves the way that God sees us and not based off of our pain and not based off of our experiences, then truly we become who God has called us to be. Recently, I've been reading a book with my children, and it just talks about how the beginning of it talks about Adam and Eve, and it says that they were loved and they were lovely. Part of us becoming lovely and knowing that we are loved is actually believing and fully understanding how God saw us from the beginning of time. He didn't see you as a mistake. He didn't see you as a random blooper, but He has a divine and clear plan. So you begin to learn how to see yourself the way that God sees you by first learning how God sees you. What does Scripture say about you? You're fearfully and wonderfully made, and He has great plans for you. He sent His Son Jesus to die for you. So you have to have clarity about how God sees you. 2, get around people who define you based on how God sees you and not your past or your circumstances. You will find that community is huge in helping confirm who you are always meant to be. So make sure that you get around friends, family, and a church that can really see you the way that God sees you. I look forward to talking to you in the next video.